Hi guys, it is Aoife from Forever Easy Diet Laughing, and I'm here to do my weekly wrap up. So I got some great books read this week, as always. Some of them were non-fiction as well, and for Feminist Lit February, and I'm going to tell you all about them now. So the first book I finished this week was a book I was reading on my phone through my library app, and it was Feminists Don't Wear Pink and Other Lies by Scarlett Curtis. And this is actually a collection of kind of thoughts and essays and personal recollections and stuff from a bunch of different women, from celebrities to just writers to some musicians to people like women who've started up some amazing companies or organisations, and they're all kind of talking about feminism, what feminism means to them. For some people it was kind of like the moment they realised they were a feminist, and these could have just been like, you know, small moments in their life or big moments. There were some women who talked about different things such as FGM, so female genital mutilation, and kind of how they were affected by that. There was a really nice essay from Emma Watson about her book club that she runs and why she decided to do that, and the books that she has recommended people to read that are very kind of about feminism, about women's stories. A lot of them were very intersectional as well, which is fantastic. So for most of this book I really did enjoy. And a lot of the essays I thought were really good, but there were some that were kind of mixed in that for me didn't really connect with me. For some of them I couldn't really see the connection between what was being talked about and the actual root of feminism and what feminism means to some people. But I guess, you know, everyone is different and different things can mean different things to different people. So that was just kind of the case with me. There were just some that I thought were just a little bit of nothing. Like the very first one is from Circe, the actress, and it was just like, I actually felt like really lazy to me, and it was just kind of like, feminism is this, like feminism is women wanting equality, feminism is a woman you know, being able to dress whatever way she wants without being called names. And I was like, it was like really basic stuff, and I was like, it just felt like a really lazy attempt, and I'm not really sure why that was put forward first, like as the very first piece in the book. I just thought it was kind of weak. So it was really interesting. So there were some really strong pieces in it for me, and there were other ones that were just a bit of nothing. So I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars overall. The next book I read was Am I Ugly by Michelle Elman. This is like a memoir slash just kind of a book about body positivity and Michelle Elman's own kind of journey to body positivity. So she was very sick when she was younger, and it led to a lot of different surgeries. So Michelle Elman, she spent a lot of her childhood and her teenage years back and forth in hospitals and through different operations, and because of this she has a lot of scars and different things going on with her body that kind of really ended up with her having quite a lack of confidence just within herself and around like other women and around boys and stuff like that. And she and in this book she's just kind of talking about that. I really enjoyed like the first part of this book, which is like she's kind of talking about being in boarding school, and then she kind of goes through her operations at a time when she was very sick. And I really actually, in this book, I really enjoyed the parts of the book where she was talking about being in boarding school. And she's obviously from her family, like from what I can tell from the book, her family are quite privileged, are quite well off. She goes to this very kind of posh boarding school for girls, and I really liked the boarding school parts. I think it's just because I really love boarding school stories, even like fictional stories like Mallory Towers and stuff from Ian Blyton, and like obviously Harry Potter and Hogwarts. I just really love stories about boarding schools. I think there's a part of me when I was younger that would have loved to have gone to a boarding school because they always seemed like so much fun. So I just really enjoyed hearing about like her own journey in boarding school, and some of it wasn't great. Like there was a lot of stuff around eating disorders amongst the girls, and how it was almost like a sport among them. They all kind of cheered each other on to like have these mild eating disorders from like anorexia to bulimia, and it's quite harrowing, and it's quite actually distressing to read about and to think about these girls like really not realizing what they're doing to their bodies just to lose a few pounds. And yeah, so there are some bits in this that are quite tough to read. I thought Michelle Elman's humour in it was great. It kind of like, it really like gave like the story an overall quite a light tone, that she's a little bit of a messer. She doesn't take herself too seriously, but at the same time she's an extremely smart individual. I liked kind of like, she did have these hang-ups around like her own body and around boys, and while like yes, she did have these scars, I think some of the stuff that she was talking about, you know, like, oh, a boy won't find me pretty, like, he won't find the fact that I have these scars attractive, no one will ever want to sleep with me kind of way. And I think it's kind of, even though hers are very specific about her scars, I think every probably girl and probably every boy as well has gone through these different times in their lives where they've been like, oh, no one will love me, no one wants to sleep with me, I'm so ugly because I'm fat, or I'm this or I'm that. And I think it actually is quite relatable at times. I will say that in terms of kind of like, she does, Michelle Elman is part of, I think it's, she does have like some body positivity Instagram accounts and stuff like that, and she would be very like a fat positive person. I will say that I didn't find as much of like the fat positivity in it, like so much. I found that more at the end than through the whole thing. And I would find this more of like, I feel like it's a more of like a self-acceptance book than an overall body positivity book. I'm not sure if everyone would find, like, I don't know, I didn't find it like 100% body positive, because I feel like a lot of it was just her struggles through like accepting her body and what her body had been through because of all the sickness that she'd had and the surgeries and stuff. And she did go through a road of body positivity through that, and finally like landed on body positivity. But I think a lot of it is also just self-acceptance. And I didn't find fat positivity like a massive role in it. But I think body positivity comes in so many different forms. So I think in this sense it was more kind of a self-acceptance and scars and stuff like that, and surgery, rather than fat positivity. Where with other books it would be more to do with fat positivity and stuff like that. So that's what I found anyway, just like my own personal thoughts on it. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars overall. I did enjoy it. I do recommend it for people. So yeah. The next book I finished was The Wych Elm by Tana French. This is Tana French's new novel. This isn't part of her, is it the Broken Harbour series she does? So this is a kind of a standalone thriller slash mystery book. And it follows a young man called Toby. He lives in Dublin. He is quite a privileged young man. He has quite a good job. He comes from a well-off family. He basically has everything going for him in his life. And then one day his life is completely turned upside down when he is the victim of this very terrible random attack that leaves him with a little bit of brain damage. And he ends up going to this old family home called Ivy House to kind of recuperate a little bit. And his uncle, who's also sick, he kind of has to look after his uncle. And it's kind of a way of him not focusing too much on his own problems, and a way of him slowly getting better as well. And things seem to be going okay, and then a body is unearthed, like a whole skeleton is unearthed in this garden. Obviously then the police come in and there's an investigation. They're trying to figure out who this skeleton belongs to. Like, is it a recent skeleton, or is it something that's been in the garden for like hundreds of years and no one's ever known? And all these kind of questions come back to Toby in the end, like kind of about things that have happened years before. And because of what has happened to him and his injuries, has quite an unreliable memory. His memory isn't working the way it should do, and he starts questioning basically everything about himself, about the people he knows, the people he thought were his friends, the people who are his family. He doesn't know who to trust. Like, he doesn't even trust himself, and he has no idea if maybe he has done something really, really bad in the past and he just can't remember it, and it could be related to the skeleton. So this is my first Tana French book that I've read. I do have Into the Woods on my Kindle, and I just have never picked it up. So this is my first instance of actually being able to experience her writing. I did really enjoy the writing. I think this is a very slow burn book. It's quite a long book for like a mystery thriller. It's about 500 pages. So it is a long one. And I did like, for the most part, I did enjoy the slow burn to it. I think there was a lot of kind of build up around Toby and his family and his friends and the way he grew up, and I do think that you need that build up, because the family unit in this is quite a big kind of part of the story. I think I wouldn't say that this was like a really hugely thrilling book. Like, I did enjoy it, but I didn't find myself extremely thrilled by it. I did really, really enjoy I really like the trope of an unreliable narrator, and I did really enjoy it in this part, because Toby himself is just completely questioning himself. Like, he just does not trust himself. He doesn't trust his memory. There's all these kind of side comments that are being made by different people that he's known for almost his entire life that makes him question about the person he used to be. And I just really enjoy that, because we don't know whether we can trust Toby either, or if we just can't trust the people around him. Are they leading him into a trap? We don't know. And I did really enjoy kind of being on the edge of my seat in that sense. Around the end of the book, I do think that it was a little bit long. It meandered a little bit for me near the end. I kind of found myself not caring as much, and I wasn't as surprised by some of the things that could have been like a really big reveal for me. As I said, I did enjoy the pace of the book most of the time, because I did enjoy the slow build up just around the family unit, but I think it could have picked up its pace a little bit near the middle, and it didn't quite do that for me. So I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars overall. I think people who obviously like Tana French's writing will probably like this. I'm not really sure. I haven't read any of her other books, but I did enjoy the writing style. I think the writing style was very strong in this. The writing was good. The descriptions were good. It's just a pity that it just kind of meandered a bit for me near the end. And the last book I finished this week was an audiobook, and it was Pride by Zoboi. It was narrated by Elizabeth Acevedo, and this is a Pride and Prejudice retelling set in New York. And it is about a girl called Zori, and she is obviously part of this large family living in this apartment building, and across the road from her in this really fancy house, a new family moves in, and one of these boys is called Darcy, and the two of them they kind of clash heads from the very beginning, and we see Zori just has a lot of things that she thinks about these boys because they're rich, and they're kind of like, they're black but she feels like they act really white, and it's really interesting to see the build up of this. And obviously, like, it's a Pride and Prejudice retelling, so everyone probably will know where it eventually goes. But I really enjoy this. I've heard really mixed things. I've seen people who really loved this and people who really hated it. I think I was on the part of the people who really enjoyed it, and I don't know whether it's because I listened to it on audiobook and it was narrated really well. It was a really nice audiobook to listen to. It had a lot of, like, there was a little bit of like spunkiness to it, a little bit of fun, a little bit of attitude, and I really enjoyed that. It made it a really fun book to listen to. She is quite an angry person for a lot of the book, but I feel like there's a real sweetness and vulnerability to her as well as you continue to read it, and she kind of, like, you know, you can kind of start seeing those little bits of her, and I really enjoyed that. I really love the chemistry between her and Darius. I thought it was definitely there for a lot of it. It was kind of like, you know, you kind of wanted them to have a screaming match and then just start kissing in the middle of it, and I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed feeling just this nice kind of bubbliness between them. I liked the way they were just like so on with each other, and yeah, I did really enjoy this, and I think part of it was because of the audiobook, so I would definitely recommend it on audiobook. 4 out of 5 stars overall. That is everything I've read this week. Please let me know what you guys think. If you guys have read any of these books, what you guys have been reading, I would love to know, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye!